The illustrious Galactic Council, comprised of the most technologically advanced alien civilizations, received a troubling report that would shake the very foundations of their understanding. Satellite observations had detected anomalies on the backwater planet called Earth, suggesting its inhabitants possessed capabilities far beyond what the Council had previously believed possible for such a primitive species. In the Grand Council chamber on the capital world of Sendari, the delegation leader, a stoic Galshorian named Grath, presented the unsettling findings to the assembled delegates. Esteemed members of the Council, Grath began, his voice tinged with a rare note of unease, our long-range sensors have detected distinct markers of advanced technological activity originating from the third planet in the Sol system, a world we've long considered to be inhabited by a young, undeveloped civilization. Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber as Grath continued. The scope and scale of these observations defy our current assumptions about human technological progress. We've detected evidence of large-scale energy generation, sophisticated orbital infrastructure, and even indications of interplanetary travel capabilities. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. This poses a grave threat to the stability of our galactic order. An elderly Galaraxian delegate, Xylos, rose from his seat, his wizened features etched with worry. If what you say is true, Grath, then we must act swiftly to contain this development. Humanity's ascent could upset the delicate balance we've maintained for millennia. The Council cannot allow an upstart species to disrupt the established order. Grath nodded solemnly. I share your concerns, Xylos. That is why I have recommended we dispatch a high-level investigative team to the Sol system immediately. We must determine the true nature and extent of human technological prowess before it's too late to intervene. The chamber erupted in a flurry of debate as delegates from across the galactic community argued the merits and risks of such a mission. Some, like the hawkish Zygonian representative, Krell, advocated for a preemptive strike to eliminate the human threat before it could grow. Others, more pragmatic voices, argued for a measured diplomatic approach. Amid the chaos, a lone figure rose from the shadows, Xyloth, a Valshorian delegate known for his unorthodox views and unwavering sense of justice. Esteemed colleagues, he said, his voice cutting through the din, I must urge caution in our approach. Have we not learned from the mistakes of the past when we dismissed the potential of so-called primitive civilizations? Grath fixed Xyloth with a stern gaze. Xyloth, your idealism is admirable, but in this case, it may very well cost us dearly. The threat posed by the humans cannot be ignored. We must act decisively to protect the stability of our galactic order. Xyloth shook his head, undeterred. And what if our assumptions about the humans are as flawed as they were about the Eridani? Have we not seen how that led to the near annihilation of their species? He paused, letting his words sink in. I believe we have a moral obligation to approach this situation with clear eyes and an open mind. We owe it to ourselves, and to the humans, to uncover the truth before we condemn them. The chamber fell silent, the delegates grappling with the weight of Xyloth's words. Grath's expression betrayed a flicker of unease, for he knew Xyloth's track record of challenging the Council's orthodoxy. In the end, however, the pragmatic concerns won out. Your arguments have merit, Xyloth, Grath conceded, but the potential risk is too great to ignore. The Council has voted, and we will proceed with the investigative mission to Earth. You and your team will depart for the Sol system within the next solar cycle. Xyloth's shoulders sagged, but there was a steely resolve in his eyes. Then I shall do everything in my power to ensure we uncover the truth, no matter where it leads. With that, he turned and strode from the chamber, his mind already racing with contingencies and strategies. As the delegation prepared for their fateful journey to Earth, a palpable sense of unease settled over the Galactic Council. For the first time in millennia, they found themselves confronted with the possibility that their long-held assumptions about the galaxy's power dynamics might be far from the truth. and the thought of what else they might uncover sent a shiver down the spines of even the most stalwart among them. The sleek, advanced spacecraft carrying the Galactic Council's delegation touched down on the outskirts of a bustling human metropolis, its cloaking systems rendering it invisible to the unsuspecting inhabitants below. Graf, the stern-faced Valshorian leading the mission, turned to his team of delegates and scientists. "Remember, we are here to observe and gather intelligence only. Any direct contact with the humans must be avoided at all costs." His gaze lingered on Xyloth, the lone dissenter who had argued passionately against the Council's decision to intervene. "We cannot afford any missteps that could jeopardize our mission." Xyloth nodded reluctantly, understanding the gravity of the situation, even if he remained unconvinced of the need for such heavy-handed tactics. "I will ensure my team exercises the utmost caution. But I implore you, Graf, keep an open mind as we uncover the true nature of this civilization." With that, the delegation donned their holographic disguises and ventured out into the bustling human city, their senses overwhelmed by the sights, sounds, and smells of this alien world. Graf led the way, his eyes scanning the environment with a critical eye, searching for any sign of the advanced technology that had so alarmed the Galactic Council. As they navigated the crowded streets, the delegates found themselves surprisingly captivated by the human activity around them. Children played in parks, while adults hurried to their destinations, engaged in seemingly mundane tasks. Yet, beneath the surface, there was an undercurrent of energy and purpose that belied the Council's long-held beliefs about humanity's primitiveness. Xyloth, ever the keen observer, took note of the intricate infrastructure that supported the city, sprawling networks of communication, transportation, and power distribution, all seamlessly integrated. "Fascinating," he murmured, his scientific curiosity piqued. "Even our own colonial outposts do not exhibit this level of complexity." Graf shot him a warning glance, but Xyloth ignored it, pressing on. The delegation soon found themselves drawn to a towering structure that seemed to defy the limitations of human engineering. Graf's brow furrowed as he studied the edifice, his mind racing to comprehend its purpose and construction. This is no simple dwelling or civic structure," he breathed, his voice tinged with awe and trepidation. "The scale and sophistication of this building exceed anything we've encountered in the outer colonies." Xyloth nodded, his eyes gleaming with a mixture of wonder and disquiet. "Indeed. And if my analysis is correct, the materials and techniques used in its construction predate even the earliest known records of our own civilizations." The other delegates exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of this revelation settling heavily upon them. Graf's expression hardened, his initial fascination giving way to a growing sense of alarm. "We must leave this place at once and report our findings to the Council," he declared, his voice brooking no argument. "The humans pose a far greater threat than we ever imagined." As the delegation hastily retreated back to their cloaked vessel, Xyloth remained behind for a moment, his gaze fixed on the towering structure. 1,000 questions raced through his mind, each one more unsettling than the last. What other mysteries did this world hold? And were the Council's fears truly justified? Or had they once again dismissed the potential of a species they did not fully understand? With a deep, troubled sigh, Xyloth turned and followed his colleagues, his resolve strengthened by the need to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The journey to Earth had only just begun, and the revelations that awaited them would forever alter the course of human-alien relations. Back on the Galactic Council's capital, the news of the delegation's findings sent shockwaves through the chambers. Graf's dire warnings were met with a mixture of alarm and indignation as delegates grappled with the implications of this startling discovery. "This is an outrage," bellowed the Zygonian representative, Krell, slamming his fist on the ornate table. "The humans must be eliminated before they can threaten the stability of our entire galactic order." Xyloth stepped forward, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to Krell's bellicose posturing. "I understand your concerns, honored colleagues, but I urge you to consider the possibility that we may have misjudged the humans all along. Their technological prowess, while impressive, need not be a threat if approached with wisdom and diplomacy. Grath fixed Xyloth with a hard stare. Your idealism is admirable, Xyloth, but in this case, it may very well cost us dearly. The Council has already made its decision. We must act swiftly to contain this human menace before it's too late. The chamber erupted into heated debate as the delegates argued the merits of Grath's proposal and Xyloth's dissenting voice. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galactic community, hung in the balance. The Galactic Council chamber was in a state of uproar as the delegation from Earth relayed their startling findings. Grath, his usually composed demeanor now tinged with a rare note of unease, detailed the scope of the humans' technological sophistication, painting a picture that shook the very foundations of the Council's understanding. The structures we've observed in the human city, Grath reported, his voice grave, are unlike anything we've encountered, even in our most advanced colonies. The materials and construction techniques suggest a level of engineering prowess that predates the earliest known records of our own civilizations. Krell, the hawkish Zygonian representative, shot to his feet, his eyes ablaze with barely contained fury. This is an outrage. The humans must be eliminated before they can threaten the stability of our galactic order. We cannot allow these primitives to usurp the rightful place of the Galactic Council. Xyloth, ever the voice of reason, raised a placating hand. Honored colleague, I understand your concerns, but I caution against hasty actions. We must approach this situation with clear eyes and an open mind. What if the humans are not the threat we've assumed them to be? Grath fixed Xyloth with a stern gaze. You speak of dangerous idealism, Xyloth. The evidence is clear. The humans possess capabilities that rival, or even surpass, our own. They cannot be allowed to continue their unchecked technological advancement. And what if their history predates our own? Xyloth countered, his words cutting through the din. Have we not seen how our past assumptions about primitive civilizations have been shattered time and again? I implore you all to consider the possibility that we have grievously underestimated the true nature of the human species. The chamber fell silent, the delegates grappling with the weight of Xyloth's words. Grath's expression betrayed a flicker of unease, for he knew Xyloth's track record of challenging the Council's long-held beliefs. Be that as it may, Grath said, his tone measured, the potential risk is too great to ignore. The humans must be neutralized before they can pose a threat to the stability of our galactic order. Xyloth shook his head, his eyes narrowing with determination. I cannot, in good conscience, support such a course of action. We have a moral obligation to understand the humans, not to destroy them. If we act hastily, we may very well be the ones who upset the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. The debate raged on, with the delegates divided into factions, those who advocated for a preemptive strike, and those who urged caution and diplomacy. Tempers flared, and ancient rivalries threatened to boil over as the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Amidst the chaos, a lone figure stepped forward. Xylos, the venerable Gloraxian delegate, whose vast experience and wisdom commanded the respect of the entire council. Enough, he said, his voice cutting through the din. We are the Galactic Council, tasked with maintaining the stability and prosperity of our civilizations. Have we forgotten the lessons of our own past, when we dismissed the potential of species we deemed inferior? Xylos fixed each delegate with a piercing gaze, his expression grave. I, for one, am not willing to make that mistake again. We must proceed with caution, and we must be willing to engage the humans in earnest dialogue, to understand their true nature and intentions. Grath opened his mouth to protest, but Xylos raised a hand, silencing him. I know your concerns, Grath, and they are not unfounded. But history has shown us that the path of aggression and subjugation often leads to more harm than good. We must be the wiser, more far-sighted leaders our people expect us to be. The chamber fell silent, the delegates weighing Xylos's words with a newfound sense of gravity. Xyloth, sensing a shift in the tide, seized the opportunity to press his case. Esteemed colleagues, I propose we send a diplomatic envoy to the humans to establish formal contact and open a channel of communication. Only then can we truly understand their motives and capabilities and determine the best course of action to ensure the continued prosperity of our galactic community. Grath's brow furrowed, but before he could object, Xylos nodded slowly, a hint of a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. A wise suggestion, Xyloth. The Council will convene a special session to discuss the details of this diplomatic mission. We must approach the humans with caution, but also with the understanding that they may hold the key to unlocking secrets long lost to our civilizations. As the delegates began to file out of the chamber, a palpable sense of unease and anticipation hung in the air. The fate of the galaxy, it seemed, now rested on the outcome of this historic first contact with the enigmatic human species. As the Galactic Council deliberated the fate of humanity, one member of the delegation that had visited Earth found himself increasingly troubled by the direction the discussions were taking. Xyloth, the Valshorian delegate known for his unorthodox views and unwavering sense of justice, could not reconcile the Council's plans for a preemptive strike against the humans with his own growing conviction that such action would be a grave mistake. Late one cycle, as the other delegates retired to their quarters, Xyloth slipped away, his mind racing with a desperate plan. He knew that if he were to have any chance of preventing a catastrophic outcome, he would need to take matters into his own hands. Navigating the shadowed corridors of the Council's seat of power, Xyloth made his way to a secure communications hub, his fingers flying across the controls as he established a covert connection. After a few tense moments, a face appeared on the screen, that of a young human scientist named Emily Chang, a brilliant mind he had encountered during the delegation's visit to Earth. "Greetings, Emily," Xyloth said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I hope this message finds you well. I'm afraid I come to you with grave news and a request for your assistance." Emily's brow furrowed with concern as Xyloth relayed the events that had transpired since the delegation's return, detailing the Galactic Council's growing fear and their plans for a potential strike against the human civilization. This is unbelievable," Emily breathed, her eyes widening with a mixture of shock and alarm. "If what you're saying is true, then we're facing an existential threat from the very beings we had hoped to one day contact and learn from." Xyloth nodded solemnly. "Indeed. That is why I have reached out to you, Emily. I believe that our only hope of averting this catastrophe lies in establishing direct communication between our peoples. But I cannot do this alone. I will need your help to uncover the truth and convince the Council of humanity's true nature." Emily's expression hardened with determination. "You can count on me, Xyloth. I'll do whatever it takes to protect my species and our future. But how do you propose we proceed?" The Council is unlikely to listen to a lone voice of dissent, no matter how persuasive. Xyloth's lips curled into a wry smile. "That is where you come in, my friend. I need you to gather evidence, artifacts, records, anything that can substantiate the true history and capabilities of the human civilization. If we can present the Council with irrefutable proof, they may have no choice but to reconsider their course of action." Emily nodded, her mind already racing with ideas. "Consider it done. I'll begin assembling the necessary information immediately. But Xyloth, you must be careful. If the Council discovers your involvement in this, the consequences could be dire." "I am well aware of the risks, Emily," Xyloth replied, his voice tinged with a rare note of vulnerability. "But I cannot in good conscience stand by and allow the humans to be destroyed, not when I believe that your species may hold the key to unlocking secrets long lost to our own civilizations." With a final nod of understanding, the two unlikely allies severed the connection, each driven by a sense of purpose that transcended the boundaries of their respective worlds. Meanwhile, back on the Galactic Council's capital, the debate continued to rage, with the delegates divided into increasingly entrenched factions. Graf, his initial apprehension now hardened into an unwavering conviction, argued forcefully for a swift, decisive strike against the human homeworld. "The evidence is clear," he declared, his voice brooking no argument. "The humans possess capabilities that rival our own, and they have undoubtedly been concealing the true extent of their technological prowess. We cannot afford to allow them to continue their unchecked development. The risk to our galactic order is simply too great." Silas, the venerable Gloraxian delegate, rose from his seat, his expression grave. "I understand your concerns, Graf, but I must once again urge caution. Have we not learned from the mistakes of the past, when we dismissed the potential of so-called primitive civilizations?" Krill, the hawkish Zygonian, slammed his fist on the table, his eyes blazing with fury. "Enough of this endless debate. The humans must be eliminated before they can pose a threat to our way of life. We cannot afford to wait and see. Action must be taken, and it must be taken now." As the delegates descended into increasingly heated arguments, Xyloth watched from the sidelines, his mind racing with the knowledge of his clandestine communication with the human scientist. He knew that time was of the essence, and that he would need to tread carefully if he were to have any hope of swaying the Council's decision. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galactic community, now rested on the uncertain outcome of this pivotal moment. Xyloth steeled his resolve, determined to do whatever it took to uncover the truth and prevent a catastrophic confrontation that could forever alter the balance of power in the cosmos. News of the Galactic Council's findings regarding the human species spread like wildfire through the global communication networks of Earth. For centuries, humanity had been content to remain isolated, unaware of the wider galactic community that existed beyond their borders. But now, the veil had been lifted, and the people of Earth found themselves confronted with a startling revelation. They were not the primitive, insignificant civilization the aliens had long believed them to be. In the bustling cities and centers of power, the reaction was one of equal parts shock, awe, and a burgeoning sense of pride. Governments and private organizations raced to mobilize resources and technology, preparing for the inevitable contact with the alien civilizations that had so long dismissed them. "This changes everything," declared the President of the United States, addressing a joint session of Congress. "For too long, we have accepted the notion that we are alone in this universe, that our potential is limited by the confines of our planet. But now we know the truth, that we are a species with a history and technological prowess that may very well rival, or even surpass, those of our galactic neighbors." The President's words were met with thunderous applause, as lawmakers from across the political spectrum found themselves united in a shared sense of purpose. Plans were quickly put into motion to establish a unified global response to the impending contact with the Galactic Council, with the aim of asserting humanity's rightful place among the stars. In the halls of academia, the news was greeted with a frenetic surge of activity, as researchers and scientists scrambled to piece together the true history of their species. Ancient ruins and artifacts were re-examined with renewed vigor, yielding tantalizing clues about humanity's long-forgotten past as a spacefaring civilization. "Everything we thought we knew about our origins has been called into question," said Dr. Emily Chung, a leading archaeologist, and the same human contact that had been secretly communicating with the Valshorian delegate, Xyloth. "It's as if the very foundations of our understanding have been shaken to the core. But this also represents an incredible opportunity to finally uncover the truth about our place in the galaxy." Emily's words echoed the sentiments of countless others, as the people of Earth found themselves united in a shared sense of purpose and determination. The race was on to amass the necessary evidence and resources that would allow them to stand tall in the face of the Galactic Council, no longer content to be dismissed as primitive or insignificant. Meanwhile, within the halls of the Galactic Council, the debate continued to rage, with the delegates driven to the brink of open conflict. Graf, the stern-faced delegation leader, remained adamant about the need for immediate action against the human homeworld. "The evidence is clear," he argued, his voice laced with a rare note of urgency. "The humans possess capabilities that could destabilize the entire galactic order. We cannot afford to wait and see. We must strike now, before they can pose a genuine threat to our way of life." Xyloth, the lone dissenter, stood his ground, his unwavering gaze fixed on his colleagues. "And what if the humans are not the threat we have assumed them to be? What if, in our haste to preserve the status quo, we have blinded ourselves to the true potential of this species?" Xyloth, the venerable Gloraxian delegate, raised a hand, silencing the growing clamor. Xyloth raises a valid point. "Have we not seen, time and again, how our own preconceptions have led us astray? I believe we have a moral obligation to approach this situation with open minds and a willingness to learn." Krell, the hawkish Zygonian, slammed his fist on the ornate table, his eyes blazing with fury. "Enough of this endless debate. The humans must be eliminated before they can grow stronger. We cannot afford to let them continue their unchecked technological development." As the delegates descended into increasingly heated arguments, Xyloth caught the eye of a young Valshorian aide, nodding imperceptibly. The aide, having been discreetly informed of Xyloth's clandestine communication with the human scientist, slipped away, intent on delivering a crucial message to Emily Chung. Time, it seemed, was running out. The Galactic Council was on the precipice of making a decision that could forever alter the course of human-alien relations, and Xyloth knew that he and Emily needed to act quickly if they were to have any chance of swaying the delegates' minds. The fate of not just humanity, but the entire galactic community, now hung in the balance. The stage was set for a pivotal confrontation, one that would determine whether the humans would be welcomed as equal partners in the cosmic community, or condemned as a threat to be eliminated at all costs. The Galactic Council convened in an emergency session, the tension in the ornate chamber palpable as the delegates grappled with the momentous decision that lay before them. Graf, the stern-faced delegation leader, stood at the center of the room, his expression grave as he addressed his colleagues. "Esteemed members of the Council, the time has come for us to take decisive action. The evidence is clear. The human species on the planet Earth possesses technological capabilities that rival, and in some cases, even surpass our own. They pose a grave threat to the stability of our galactic order, and we can no longer afford to ignore this reality." Krell, the hawkish Zygonian delegate, nodded in agreement, his eyes narrowed with determination. "Graf speaks the truth. We have been too lenient, too complacent in the face of this rising human menace. The time for action is now. We must strike before they can grow stronger and challenge our rightful place as the guardians of the galaxy." Xyloth, the lone dissenter, stepped forward, his gaze unwavering. "Honored colleagues, I implore you to reconsider this course of action. Have we not seen, time and again, how our own assumptions about primitive civilizations have been shattered? What if the humans are not the threat we have imagined them to be?" Stylos, the venerable Gloraxian delegate, raised a hand, silencing the growing murmurs of discontent. Xyloth raises a valid point. We cannot afford to act hastily, driven by fear and preconceptions. The fate of not just the humans, but our entire galactic community hangs in the balance. Graf's brow furrowed, his expression betraying a rare note of uncertainty. "But Xylos, the risk is simply too great. We cannot allow the humans to continue their unchecked technological development. They must be neutralized before they can disrupt the delicate balance we have maintained for millennia." The chamber erupted into a flurry of heated debate, as the delegates divided themselves into increasingly entrenched factions. Some, like Krell, argued passionately for a preemptive strike, while others, led by Xyloth and Xylos, urged caution and a diplomatic approach. Amidst the chaos, a lone figure stepped forward. Xyloth's young Valshorian aide, his face flushed with a mixture of nervousness and determination. "Honored delegates, I have a message from Xyloth." He believes he has uncovered evidence that could shed new light on the true nature of the human civilization. The chamber fell silent, all eyes turning toward the aide as he continued. Xyloth has been in secret communication with a human scientist named Emily Chang. She has gathered artifacts and records that could challenge our long-held assumptions about the human's technological and historical capabilities. Graf's expression hardened, his gaze fixing the aide with a withering stare. And you believe this evidence is worth delaying our decision. The humans pose a clear and present danger. We cannot afford to waste time on such distractions. Xyloth stepped forward, his voice calm and resolute. I understand your concerns, Graf, but I implore you to hear me out. If what Emily and I have uncovered is true, it could forever change the course of our relationship with the humans. We owe it to ourselves, and to them, to consider this information before making any irreversible decisions. The chamber once again erupted into heated debate, with the delegates trading impassioned arguments for and against Xyloth's proposal. Tempers flared, and ancient rivalries threatened to boil over as the fate of the human species hung in the balance. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Xyloth rose from his seat, his wizened features etched with a rare expression of resolve. Honored colleagues, I believe we have no choice but to hear Xyloth and his human contact out. The stakes are too high for us to act hastily, driven by fear and preconceptions. Graf opened his mouth to protest, but Xyloth raised a hand, silencing him. I know your concerns, Graf, but we must be willing to challenge our own assumptions. The future of our galactic community may very well depend on the outcome of this decision. With a reluctant nod, Graf conceded, and the council agreed to convene a special session to hear the evidence that Xyloth and Emily had uncovered. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, a palpable sense of unease and anticipation hung in the air, for they knew that the fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galactic order, now rested on the outcome of this pivotal moment. The Galactic Council convened in a special session, the tension in the ornate chamber palpable as the delegates prepared to hear the evidence presented by Xyloth and his human contact, Emily Chang. Graf, the stern-faced delegation leader, fixed Xyloth with a wary gaze, his lips drawn in a thin line. We are here to consider the information you and this human have uncovered, Graf began, his voice laced with a hint of disdain. I hope, for the sake of your species, that it is worth our time. Xyloth inclined his head respectfully, his expression calm and measured. I assure you, Graf, that what we have to present will challenge the very foundations of our understanding about the human civilization. Emily, her face projected on a large holoscreen before the assembled delegates, took a deep breath before speaking. Honored members of the Galactic Council, I am here today to share with you a remarkable discovery. Evidence that the human species has a history and technological prowess that far exceeds what you have previously believed. With a few deft keystrokes, Emily began to display a series of holographic images and artifacts, each one more astounding than the last. Ancient structures, advanced engineering marvels, and records of interplanetary exploration, all predating the earliest known civilizations of the Galactic Council. As the delegates studied the evidence, murmurs of astonishment and disbelief rippled through the chamber. Krell, the hawkish Zygonian, shook his head in denial, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. This cannot be real, he growled, his fist clenching on the ornate table. The humans are clearly trying to deceive us, to buy time before they can strike. Xyloth raised a placating hand, his gaze unwavering. I understand your skepticism, Krell, but I assure you that these artifacts are genuine. They represent the culmination of decades of research and archaeological exploration by some of the brightest minds on Earth. Xyloth, the venerable Gloraxian delegate, leaned forward, his wizened features etched with a mixture of wonder and contemplation. The implications of what we are seeing are staggering. If this evidence is indeed authentic, then it would appear that our understanding of human history and capabilities has been woefully incomplete. Graf's brow furrowed, his expression conflicted. Even if this is true, Xylos, the risk posed by the humans cannot be ignored. Their potential for technological advancement is a threat to the stability of our entire galactic order. Emily's voice, clear and resolute, cut through the growing murmurs. Honored delegates, I am here to assure you that the humans have no desire to disrupt the balance of power in the galaxy. Our only wish is to engage in peaceful cooperation and exchange of knowledge and technology. Krell scoffed, his lips curling in a sneer. And why should we trust the word of a primitive? He paused, his eyes widening as he took in the holographic displays before him. These are not the actions of a primitive species. Xyloth seized the moment, his gaze sweeping the chamber. Exactly, Krell. The humans have a history and a technological prowess that rivals, or even surpasses, our own. Surely we have a moral obligation to approach them as equals, not as threats to be eliminated. The chamber fell into a tense silence, the delegates grappling with the implications of what they had witnessed. Graf's expression softened, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his features. If what you say is true, Xyloth, then the Council must reconsider its stance. We cannot afford to be blinded by our own preconceptions, not when the fate of our entire galactic community may hang in the balance. Xylos nodded in agreement, his weathered features etched with a rare smile. Well said, Graf. I believe it is time we extend a hand of friendship and cooperation to the human civilization. Together, we may uncover secrets long lost to our own histories. As the delegates began to murmur in agreement, Krell rose from his seat, his eyes blazing with a mix of grudging acceptance and lingering suspicion. Very well, then. I will reserve my judgment until we have had the opportunity to engage with the humans directly. But mark my words, if they prove to be a threat, I will not hesitate to take the necessary actions to protect our way of life. With that, the Galactic Council adjourned, the delegates filing out of the chamber with a renewed sense of purpose and anticipation. The stage was set for a historic first contact, one that would forever alter the course of human-alien relations. Back on Earth, the news of the Galactic Council's decision spread like wildfire, igniting a surge of hope and excitement among the global population. Governments and private organizations mobilized resources, preparing to send their own diplomatic envoys to the stars, eager to establish formal ties with the wider galactic community. This is a momentous day for humanity, declared the President of the United States, addressing the nation. For too long we have been isolated, dismissed as insignificant. But now we stand poised to take our rightful place among the stars, ready to share our knowledge and technology with our newfound galactic neighbors. As the world held its breath, waiting for the arrival of the Galactic Council's emissaries, a single figure stood apart, her expression a mix of relief and trepidation. Emily Chang, the human scientist whose efforts had helped sway the delegates, knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges and uncertainties. This is only the beginning, she murmured, her gaze fixed on the stars. The true test will come when our peoples come face to face. May we have the wisdom and courage to navigate this new era with grace and understanding. The day of the historic first contact between the human civilization and a galactic council had finally arrived. Ambassadors and delegates from across the galactic community filed into the grand meeting hall, their faces a mix of curiosity, trepidation, and cautious optimism. At the center of the chamber, a group of human representatives, led by Emily Chang and the President of the United States, stood ready to engage in the delicate diplomatic dance that would shape the future of their species' relationship with the wider galactic community. As the assembled delegates fell silent, Graf, the Valshorian delegation leader, stepped forward, his expression uncharacteristically open and thoughtful. Honored guests from the planet Earth, he began, his voice carrying a rare note of humility. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome you to this historic gathering. We come before you today with an open mind and a willingness to engage in honest dialogue. For we have come to realize that our previous assumptions about your species were not merely incomplete, but profoundly mistaken. Emily stepped forward, her gaze sweeping the chamber. "We are honored by your welcome, Graf, and we come to you in a spirit of cooperation and mutual understanding. For too long, our civilizations have been separated by distance and misconception. But now we stand ready to bridge that divide, to forge a new era of exchange and collaboration that will benefit us all." The delegates murmured in agreement, the tension in the room slowly giving way to a sense of cautious optimism. Krell, the hawkish Zygonian, cleared his throat, his expression guarded but no longer openly hostile. "The evidence you have presented has challenged our long-held beliefs. We cannot ignore the fact that your species possesses a technological and historical prowess that rivals, and in some cases, even surpasses our own. It is with this understanding that we approach this first contact." The President of the United States stepped forward, her gaze steady and resolute. "We are grateful for your willingness to engage with us, Krell, and we hope that this exchange will mark the beginning of a fruitful and mutually beneficial relationship. The human species has much to offer the galactic community, and we look forward to the opportunity to share our knowledge and resources." As the discussions progressed, the delegates from both sides found themselves increasingly drawn to the depth and complexity of the other's civilization. Xyloth, the Valshorian delegate who had championed the cause of human-alien cooperation, observed the proceedings with a sense of quiet satisfaction. "It would seem that my faith in the wisdom and potential of the human species was not misplaced," he murmured to Xylos, the venerable Gloraxian delegate. "They possess not only a remarkable technological prowess, but a cultural and philosophical depth that we would do well to learn from." Xylos nodded in agreement, his weathered features etched with a rare smile. "Indeed, Xyloth, and I believe that the exchange of knowledge and technology between our peoples will unlock secrets long lost to our own civilizations. The future we now face is one of great promise and potential." As the negotiations continued, the delegates from both sides found themselves grappling with the complexities of forging a new equitable relationship. Issues of trade, resource sharing, and the integration of technologies were discussed at length, with both sides acutely aware of the need to tread carefully and avoid missteps that could jeopardize the delicate balance. Tensions flared at times, as old biases and misconceptions threatened to surface, but the presence of level-headed leaders on both sides helped to navigate these challenges. Slowly but surely, the outlines of a comprehensive cooperation agreement began to take shape, one that would pave the way for a new era of mutual understanding and advancement. When the historic first contact session finally drew to a close, a palpable sense of excitement and anticipation filled the air. The delegates from Earth and the Galactic Council shook hands, their expressions reflecting a newfound respect and camaraderie that belied the centuries of isolation and misunderstanding that had once separated them. As the human representatives prepared to depart, Emily Chung turned to Xyloth, her eyes shining with a mixture of gratitude and wonder. "Thank you, Xyloth, for your unwavering belief in us and your willingness to challenge the Galactic Council's preconceptions. Without your intervention, this moment may never have come to pass." Xyloth smiled, his gaze warm and sincere. "The credit is yours, Emily. It was your determination, and the evidence you uncovered that ultimately swayed the Council. I merely played a small part in ensuring that they were willing to listen." Emily nodded, her expression resolute. "Then let this be the beginning of a new era of cooperation and shared discovery. The human species is eager to take its rightful place among the stars, and we look forward to the opportunity to work alongside the Galactic Council to shape a brighter future for all." As the human delegation departed, Xyloth watched them go, a sense of profound satisfaction and anticipation filling his heart. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, and the possibilities that now lay before them were truly limitless. "The humans," he murmured to himself, "are indeed the true elder species, and I believe their ascendance will usher in a new golden age for our entire galactic community."